Chapter 7 Marshall. "You're more than welcome to crash here for a while," said Marshall as he set the pillow and blanket on the couch. "You do realize Dad isn't going to kick you out of the condo until after the wedding, right? It was the terms of the deal." "If that's your way of saying you'd rather I get a hotel, you can just come out with it," muttered Gabe. "You might just be more comfortable in a bed than on my sofa," shrugged Marshall. "I'm cool with you crashing here." Gabe sighed. "The condo isn't the same without Britt. It's empty." Marshall hid a smile. 2 weeks ago, Gabe had been complaining about Brittany invading his space. Now he was pining for her. "What was the argument about? Why did she leave you?" "According to Tara, Britt thinks I'm marrying her for revenge against Dad somehow." Gabe sat down on the couch and put his head in his hands. "None of this makes any sense. If Britt would just talk to me, I could straighten it out." Marshall had a seat beside his oldest brother. Gabe and Brittany had been at odds for years. Brittany had a huge crush on Gabe and had been very persistent until finally giving up. Gabe had avoided Brittany at all costs until James Ramsley's ultimatum. Marshall knew Gabe had feelings for Brittany, even if he didn't want to admit them. It had been Marshall who had finally pushed the pair together. Now it looked like Gabe had realized he did love Brittany after all. Right after Brittany left him. "Then you need to figure out a way to talk to her," ventured Marshall. "Tara won't tell me where Britt is," replied Gabe. "I went to Britt's condo already. That's where I found the letter." "What letter?" a concerned Marshall asked. "The one from her doctor," explained Gabe. He leaned back, slumping against the couch. "Brittany has cancer. The doctor wants to start a treatment plan with surgery and chemo." "She never told you," surmised Marshall. "No," Gabe said shortly. He swallowed hard. "Dad is dying of cancer. What if Britt does too?" "Hey," warned Marshall, "there are many different kinds of cancer. Until you know how aggressive it is and what the average outcomes are, there is no point in worrying about it. The doctor has a treatment plan. As long as Brittany follows it, there should be a good chance of survival." "A chance isn't good enough," muttered Gabe. "She shut me out. I can't even help her through this." Marshall was silent for a moment, digesting Gabe's words. "Do you have a plan to win her back? You're going to try to revive your relationship with Britt, right? Gabe, you can't just give up. Even if you don't make Dad's deadline, there's no reason the two of you can't be happy together." "I'm not giving up," groused Gabe. "I bought her house." "The one you were worried might have termites?" questioned Marshall. Privately, he wondered if Gabe was going to recover if he lost both his job and Brittany. Gabe was very focused and controlled in his life. Without a purpose, he might spiral. "She loves it," shrugged Gabe. "The inspector said it was fine, so I bought it and I put it in her name. I'm doing the renovations to make it perfect for Britt, but if I can't get a landscaper, I don't know what I'm going to do about the backyard. It's horrible. There's a patch of dead grass which needs to be removed. Britt wants flowers and an ornamental tree, plus a playset for the kid we were supposed to have." "What are you going to do with the house once you have it all renovated?" quietly asked Marshall. "Give it to her," revealed Gabe on a sigh as he slouched back on the couch. "Hope she'll reconsider leaving me and give me one more chance." "How are you going to be financially if you lose out on your position with the company?" pressed Marshall. Gabe lifted a shoulder in a shrug. "I will lose the condo and my income. I have some savings and investments I can pull on until I can find another job. Maybe Parker will hire me. Right now, it doesn't really matter to me." His brother had fallen deep if he wasn't even worried about his job, reflected Marshall. He checked his watch. "You can stay as long as you would like. The couch is entirely yours." "Thanks," nodded Gabe. "I appreciate it. I need to make a call." Marshall gave Gabe an apologetic look. "Jasmine's expecting me to video chat. She's going to introduce me to her parents tonight." "Good luck," responded a lackluster Gabe. "Thanks." Suddenly, Marshall felt nervous. He supposed because he didn't know what would happen if Jasmine's parents didn't like him. He had met a number of his girlfriend's parents before, but never had it been so important. He had never proposed marriage before, or asked for anyone's blessing. Not that he was nervous about the marriage. If anything, Marshall felt completely confident about being married to Jasmine. She was perfect for him. They knew everything about each other and were compatible in every way, especially after he had met and kissed her. Jasmine was exactly who he wanted. Marshall knew his mother, Dottie, would love Jasmine. As for his dad, James would be satisfied Marshall was fulfilling his obligations, even if the ultimatum wasn't why he had chosen to propose. It just made perfect sense. Grabbing his laptop, Marshall went to his bedroom. He plugged in the device and sat in the wing chair by the window as he logged in. After his proposal at the hospital, Jasmine had given him the grand tour. He had met people they had talked about, putting faces to the names they often discussed. Jasmine had surgery in the afternoon, so he had gone up to the gallery and watched. She was a magician with a scalpel and needle. Marshall was in awe of her skills. He could easily admit she was a better surgeon than he was. They had gone to dinner before jet lag had started to wipe him out. The time difference meant he was well past his normal bedtime routine. Jasmine had thought it funny and asked if he was bored with her already. Marshall had replied he would never be bored with her. However, citing fatigue, he had called it a night. The next day Jasmine had seen him off early at the airport, promising to call him during her lunch hour. They had continued their routine of speaking every day, only now they were engaged. They had also shifted to video calling each other for the first time in their relationship. Marshall connected to the call, noting Jasmine was already online. He couldn't stop the smile from his face. "How was work?" "Stressful," admitted Jasmine with a tired smile. "I kept worrying about tonight." "There's nothing to worry about," assured Marshall, even as he tamped down his own nervousness. "We love each other. Your parents will see that and give us their blessing. Then you can meet my parents, and we can discuss a timeline of when we would like to tie the knot, where we would like to live, and the future in general." "It's a little more complicated than that," revealed Jasmine. She took a deep breath. "There's something you need to know about me." "Whatever it is, I'm okay with it." Marshall didn't like the serious expression Jasmine wore. She had a nervous laugh. "You might regret saying such in just a moment." "I will never regret anything about you," softly stated Marshall. "I've been thinking. I could move to be with you. You love your career there as a heart surgeon, and it's obvious you love your hospital. I only work part-time here as a surgeon. It would be less of a bother for me to restart my career in your area." "You would do that for me?" Jasmine's voice softened. "Of course I would," responded Marshall. "It makes the best sense for both of us. I admit I will miss hassling my brothers on a daily basis, but I can call them and fly over every so often." "Hold on to that thought," weakly replied Jasmine. "My parents are about to join our call. I should have told you sooner about them, and now it's too late. I'm sorry." "Told me what sooner?" questioned Marshall with a frown as the screen split so that he could see Jasmine and a well-dressed middle-aged couple. "Mother and father, I would like for you to meet Marshall Ramsley," introduced Jasmine. "Marshall, these are my parents, the king and queen of my homeland." Marshall blinked. Whatever he might have expected, it wasn't this. He cleared his throat, manners which had been drilled into him from his mother coming to his aid. "Pleased to meet you." "He does not know how to greet royalty, I see," harumphed the king, folding his arms. "I've never met royalty before," admitted Marshall. He added quickly, "If I've given any offense, I apologize." "We accept your apology," inserted the queen graciously. "Marshall is a doctor." Jasmine fixed a smile on her face. "He works for Ramsley HMC." "An American," grimaced Jasmine's father. "Why not find a nice boy from our country? Someone suitable." "Your Majesty, I understand I might not be the sort of man you had in mind for your daughter," began Marshall, hoping to salvage the situation. "However, I love her. I'm willing to do whatever I can to support her and make her happy." "Are you ready to be second best at everything?" grumbled the king. "Jasmine is my only daughter. She's going to take over my crown someday. You are not royalty. You won't be king. You would be the queen's consort and husband. Your primary duty would be to assist and support her. Jasmine will be first in everything. What she says will be final. She won't be your wife. She will be your queen first and foremost." "She already is," responded Marshall. He realized it was true. Marshall had been willing to move across the country for her. Why not even further? What about his career as a doctor? The uncertain thought flitted across his mind, and Marshall pushed it away. He and Jasmine would work it out. "I have my doubts," the king announced. "Father, Marshall is a good man, and I really do love him," responded Jasmine. "I know he isn't exactly the type of person you would have preferred. However, I think we should give him a chance. We can have a long engagement and see how Marshall copes with becoming part of the royal family." "Raj," murmured the queen, "she loves him." "I knew this would happen," grumbled the king dampeningly. "I knew it when we sent her away to college. She would find an American boy. I just thought she would graduate and come back first so we could talk her out of it." There was an awkward pause. "Father," Jasmine gently reminded him, "I have graduated. I'm a heart surgeon. You know this." "Of course I know it," blustered the king. "You don't think I don't remember?" "I'm sorry, Father," a chastened Jasmine replied. "Raj, it's time for your morning briefings." Mildly, the queen told her husband, "You should start them. I'll join you shortly." "We'll talk about this later," huffed Jasmine's father as he grabbed a cane, using it to stand before leaving. Marshall waited in awkward silence until a door could be heard shutting in the background. "How long has he been having memory issues?" The queen sighed deeply. "Early onset Alzheimer's. He is rapidly declining." "How long have you known?" asked Marshall. "A few years now," confessed the queen. "Lately he has become more difficult to handle. He becomes frustrated when he cannot remember." "It's time for me to come home," a quiet Jasmine remarked. The queen had a tired nod. "I had hoped you would have a little more time to enjoy your career, but we can no longer wait. He is no longer able to carry out his duties." Jasmine cleared her throat and nodded, blinking back tears. "There are therapies, medications which might offer some relief," offered Marshall. "He has been to the best doctors," gently reprimanded the queen. "My husband wouldn't have lasted this long without them." "I'm sorry," apologized Marshall. "I didn't mean to overstep." Jasmine's mother studied Marshall, measuring him before making up her mind. "How soon can you marry my daughter?" "Excuse me?" asked Marshall, surprised at the turn in the conversation. "I want my Jasmine to have an American wedding with her friends and your family," decided the queen, "followed by a traditional wedding. Then we can establish her on the throne when we return from the United States. I'm sorry, any honeymoon will have to wait." "This seems a little soon," a confused Marshall stated. He had not been planning to marry Jasmine right away. He had thought they would have some time to sort out their lives first. "One moment we were talking about an extended engagement, and now you would like us to get married right away." "It would make it easier for the coronation," explained Jasmine's mother with a touch of impatience. "It will cement in the minds of our people that Jasmine is a grown woman and capable of being our queen." "Jasmine," Marshall noted his fiancée had been silent for some time. "What do you want?" "We should be married before returning home. Mother is right. We need to send the right message to my people," Jasmine quietly noted. "That is, if you still wish to marry me." Marshall was about to reply, but the queen quickly interjected. "It won't be easy. As my husband stated, you will be second in this relationship. Also, we have never had an American in our royal family. You will need to learn and adapt to our customs and traditions. You'll need to give up your career and focus on your duties as consort. If you cannot do this, if you don't love Jasmine enough to do this, then you need to say so now. It's a lifetime commitment." Marshall wanted to have a laugh at the absurdity of his sudden situation. Never in his wildest dreams had Marshall thought this would happen. Their kids were going to rule a country. "I love Jasmine with all my heart." "That does not answer the question," noted the Queen. To never be a surgeon again. Marshall took a deep breath. The alternative was to never see Jasmine again. Or worse, see her on a magazine cover with some other guy as her consort. Jasmine spoke to her mother in her native tongue and received a wry reply. The first thing he was going to do was learn the language, decided Marshall. He wasn't about to be left out of the conversation. "I will do it." Jasmine's mother gave them a regal nod. "Then I give my blessing." "Thank you, Mother," quietly spoke Jasmine. Marshall echoed the sentiment. "Thank you." "I will leave the two of you to talk details," the Queen told them. "Jasmine, don't forget to call me later today for our regular tea." The Queen left the call. Then it was just Marshall and an uncomfortable Jasmine. "Surprise!" A half-hearted Jasmine spoke the word. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. It's a bit difficult to explain, and I never like how people treat me afterward. I was happy just being friends with you, and didn't want to complicate our relationship. No one in America knows except for my cousin Priya, and now you." Jasmine waited anxiously while Marshall thought about their situation. "It doesn't change how I feel about you," a somber Marshall said. "It changes everything about the future I thought we would have together." Marshall thought about how Gabe's future had drastically changed by learning Brittany had cancer. The future was never promised to any of them. A person could plan all they wanted, but it didn't mean that things would turn out the way they had hoped. Just because Marshall had been used to getting what he wanted all these years, didn't mean life wouldn't change his path without his permission. "Marshall?" gently prompted Jasmine. He looked at the screen and wished in this moment he could hold her and reassure both of them that they were going to be all right. "I have a lot of questions." "I will answer every question I can," she responded. "Then instead of being my +1 for my brother's wedding, would you like to be my bride?" asked Marshall. "Yes," nodded Jasmine with a relieved smile. "Good." Marshall smiled back. "Now, what country are you from?" "It's a little-known place," began Jasmine, telling him about her home country and childhood as a royal princess. I hope you enjoyed this chapter of The Wedding, Book 10 of the Ramsley Brothers series. If you would like, consider sharing this with a friend. Happy listening.